What are the reasons for project failure? In this video, I want to look beyond just the symptoms, and I want to look at the real root causes. And the root causes are things that you can begin to tackle at the beginning of a project. You can have a serious impact on them in the middle of a project, and if you wait until the project is done, you've probably missed the boat. I'm Jennifer Kenny. I'm the best-selling author of The Innovation Mindset and the award-winning book 100% Capacity. I work with Fortune 500 companies who are doing projects in complex technical environments. I show leaders how to achieve project success, not just on paper, but in terms of measurable business results. One of the most important things that I've seen happen on many different projects is that we have this idea that we should be able to receive input from our customers, be they internal or external, and that input should be able to dictate what it is that we're going to develop and what it is we're going to deliver in terms of technical results for a project. This subscribes to the idea that work is really about input, process, and output. And we think about it in terms of our understanding of what comes into us is really based on something static. And we build to that static thing, and then we use scope to be able to try and manage changes to that static thing, and we still try and deliver to what it was we were requested to do 2 or 3 years ago, or 6 or 9 months ago, depending on the duration of your project. This is a failure to understand that work is really not about input, process, output. If we were working on a factory floor and we were robots working on a factory floor, yes, it's about input, process, output. But we're even asking robots today to make more effective decisions in the moment. If we go with that approach to thinking about what is success in a project, we are completely missing the boat. We are missing that the world is changing. We are missing the context is changing. We are missing that our company is changing. We are missing that our customers are changing. Sometimes people physically move in and out. Our customers' needs are changing. Our customers' objectives are changing. We're working in a highly complex, highly dynamic environment on an ongoing, constant basis. If we design our projects as if we were working in the 1920s or the 1930s when things were a lot more static, rather than how they are operating today with new technologies coming in at a speed of light, what we're doing is we're setting ourselves up for failure. One of the most important and effective ways that I've found to manage this process over time is to really be able to put the emphasis on what I refer to as the first part of the quadrant, which is the development part of the project, which is where you're developing a relationship with your customer, you're developing an understanding of the business, you're developing an understanding of what value means, you're developing an understanding of why your project exists in the first place. Now, you've gone through some of this as you went through the process of getting the project approved and doing the budgeting for the project and educating people as to what the project was actually going to look like. But many times project leaders fail because they consider that to be done once they've got the budget for the project. What they're missing is that is an ongoing process. It is an integral part of the project. It's a really important part of the project. Many complex projects inside organizations will have 2, 3, 5, 10 internal customers. How you manage those customers and how you engage with those customers is incredibly important for the success of your project. It's actually incredibly important for the success of the people on your project, because if you are not able to manage and handle those internal customers in an effective way, you're setting your project up for failure and you're going to burn through your people. So one of the ways that I have worked with this, bearing in mind that I'm moving people away from work as input, process, output, and moving people towards understanding that work is actually a conversation between a customer and a performer, and it is a network of those conversations that we orchestrate to be able to deliver value. If we move from input, process, output to networks of conversations and commitments, then we begin to think very differently around who is my customer, what is value, how do I engage with them, how do I deal with the fact that I'm working in a highly dynamic, complex environment. Once you do that, and you start identifying, let's say hypothetically you have a project and you have 7 customers. 7 people have put up their hands and said, I want the technology that you're going to deliver. It's going to add a lot of value to my external customers or my internal customers, or it's going to add a lot of value to my team, and we're going to be able to deliver more value in terms of what we do to our CEO. If you're in that position, one of the things that I have found very effective to do is to bring those people together and to have them identify who's the final arbiter and decision maker for that whole team, so that you can deal with them as 7 customers, but you're not dealing with them in terms of having to help them make all of the decisions together all of the time, because their business concerns are going to move and change. Your business concerns are going to move and change as the technology evolves and you get a better understanding of what you can really deliver and what it's going to really look like and what the architecture is going to look like and what value you can deliver. The most important thing you can do for yourself is you identify one person who is the voice of your customers, and you work with that one person to make absolutely certain that all of the customers' voices are heard. You're an integral part of that governance committee or of that steering committee or of that customer satisfaction committee, and you're having conversations with them to make sure that they are in alignment. So a lot of your work moves away from being an effective, successful project lead or project manager or VP of product, depending on what it is that you're doing. And it moves much more towards the design of conditions of satisfaction and the management of those conditions of satisfaction and the commitments that that group of people are making to each other and how they are determining definition of done and definition of satisfaction. If you can spend the time and the energy and the effort up front, and I strongly recommend you do because the payoff down the road is significant, and you can get that level of alignment working, even if it's something that you inherited, you can get that level of alignment working, you can get that level of trust built, you can manage your commitments to those people and they can manage their commitments to you, then you are setting yourself up for a much, much higher chance of success. Because we work in a world where our inherited understanding of work is input, process, output, what happens is we get handed a budget, we get handed requirements, which I think are very dangerous. We get handed a team and we get told to go make a project happen. What's happened in that instance is you've just had a bunch of stuff lobbed over the wall at you and you're supposed to convert it into something amazing that will add a lot of value for your company or for your company's customers. In the absence of having a clear understanding of what is work with your internal customers, you are setting yourself up for failure. So that's a primary reason why I believe that projects fail. A secondary one is that we actually, because we work in this input, process, output mode, and we don't see ourselves as performers delivering value to customers and as customers ourselves for value our team's going to deliver to us. What we do is we think of success as being synonymous with effort. The harder we work, the more we put in, the harder we try, the more modules we release, the more products we release, the more lines of code we write, the more hours we spend. We tend to equate work directly with effort. If we can shift our understanding and equate work with success, equate work with a customer declaring satisfaction, then what we're doing is we are making success synonymous with satisfaction. And we are working with a customer in a fundamentally different way to be able to deliver value for them. We put ourselves in a position where our level of mastery and competence around particular technology, a particular approach, a particular development or delivery approach, and our customers' mastery around how they add value inside or outside the organization. Those two things can come together to actually define definition of done, definition of success, and manage that for the duration of the project as it morphs and change for the ultimate success of the project. The language action loop or the customer satisfaction loop, or just the loop, as I have covered in many other videos, is an absolute foundational element of what you're building your project on top of. Our natural predisposition is to rush to delivery. And if we understand that the impact that that can have at the top level of the project in terms of how you're engaging with your customers, how you're engaging with your steering committee, how you're engaging with your customer satisfaction committee, if you understand the impact that that can have and the cascading impact it can have across a project, determining whether or not the project is successful, you can also understand that if you are not having that happening, that level of conversation happening between customers and performers right down to the individual contributor and the developer, then what you recognize is in the absence of that happening, there's no way you're going to be able to deliver it at the higher level. So your building block for customer satisfaction and success, for your own satisfaction and success, for the success of the project, is actually the ability of every single person on your team to be able to, what I refer to as, manage their commitments, and to be able to understand the importance of develop, design, deliver, and declare satisfaction. If every single person on your team is rushing from develop to deliver, then what happens is you have a complete loss of context and a loss of commitment to customer satisfaction, and that context gets broken repeatedly over time, and eventually you have a bunch of people who are doing their best and delivering something, but whether or not that something is related to the value that your customer is ultimately looking for, that drift gets bigger over time. There's a fourth element of this that I think is worth noting, is what I refer to as the Frankenstein Monster. Many times what happens in projects is you end up with people working in silos in their individual teams because it's difficult for them to coordinate and communicate between the teams, and if they don't have proficiency in this, they kind of give up and they retreat back into their teams and they do their best work that they possibly can within the silos that the organization has appointed them to. And what happens with that is you end up with the Frankenstein monster. You end up with people doing good work inside their silos, but when they start putting the work together to create a complete product, they realize that they have been out of sync with each other over time. And as I mentioned before, this out of syncness can drift significantly over time. In the absence of people actually having real conversations with each other where they are collectively committed to building a coherent product, what you will find is that those silos will be what determines what work gets done. And when that work is brought together, it will be a Frankenstein monster. In the absence of managing risk and technical debt, you're also setting yourself up for some serious burnout and some serious overload of capacity. I've done a number of videos on managing technical debt and a number of videos on risk. If you begin to have those conversations and put them front and center of the work that you're doing, you're setting yourself up, you're increasing your chances of being successful in a project. And those conversations turn into practices that your team now supports and understands how to be able to handle. You're not putting yourself in a position where you're having demo death marches and where you are continuing to create that divergence between what your customer is ultimately going to be satisfied with and what it is you're going to be able to deliver. As you start thinking about the real root causes of project success or project failure, I encourage you to read my white paper, which is called Execution by Design. And it is available on my website, www.jenniferkenny.com, under free resources. It is a free resource. I encourage you to have a look at that and see how it helps you further this thinking about setting yourself up for project success. This is a significant undertaking, and I hope that some of the videos on the channel support you, and I wish you the very best of luck with it. Take care.